Hello everyone. Uh, Today we are going to talk about how to build your personal brand as a software engineer. So my name is Saeed Ahmed. I'm working as a senior software engineer at Zapcom. So I primarily work on web and mobile apps. I'm an open source contributor and advocate. You can also call me an open source advocate as well. So I not only contribute myself in the open source competitions, make some packages, libraries, and stuff for the developers, but also encourage others to contribute to open source projects as well. Alongside that, I also write on tech, AI, and programming related topics. So you can like see my profile on Medium as well. So I write a lot of stuff on not only tech related things but also like general things like motivation or jobs or so things like that. So let's jump into our topic. So what we will discuss in this uh, uh, presentation is that first of all we will be exploring what is a personal brand, and second thing is that why you need to establish your personal brand or maybe build your personal brand or maybe improve your online persona, you can say, or maybe improve your online presence. And then the third thing is that we will be discussing what are the steps that you need to take to establish yourself as a brand, right? So first of all, let's see what's a personal brand. So it's an effort to create and influence public perception. Like you might have seen a lot of brands, a lot of people who are doing a lot of stuff related to marketing, advertising their products, maybe advertising their books, or maybe selling things, and doing an effort to influence the opinion of public about them. So, like you might have seen many ride-hailing apps who are actually presenting their product, which is actually a service, uh, and marketing it in a better way. So the ultimate goal of that thing is to establish their brand so that the people are emotionally connected to their brand. And when people are emotionally connected to something, that then they whatever decisions they make, those decisions are based on emotions, you can say, or maybe tied to emotions of a person. So when you tie something to emotions of human beings, then they cannot, like you can say, they cannot uh, 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 they cannot stop themselves from purchasing that thing or maybe purchasing that service or something like that. So that's why you might have seen that uh, like a lot of brands, they uh, make continuous efforts to tie their service or products to human comfort or maybe anything with which they can actually influence the public perception. So this is what we call a personal brand, right? So there are three things that if we talk about a person, so like what are the benefits if you establish yourself as a personal brand? So first of all, it helps you to establish yourself as an authority. So normally you might have seen that there are a lot of jobs out there in the market, and they'll be asking you like uh, if they need a React Native developers, they will be asking you that they need a someone, like if it's a junior position, they might be asking you for 1 year experience. If it's a mid-level position, they might be asking you 2 years of experience maybe. And if it's a senior position, they might be asking you for 5 years or 4 years of experience, right? So the thing is that when you establish yourself as an authority in something, like in a particular area or maybe in a particular technology or maybe in any service, then no one asks you that how much you are experienced in that particular domain, right? As you know that as Kareem, maybe you can say, or maybe any other product which is introduced in the market, when they market their things, no one asks that how much time you spent in that particular market, or maybe how much experience you do have in that particular area or something like that. So Uh, there are other things as well that contribute to this, like perception, you can say, that no one asks them for their number of years of experience or maybe their exposure of a particular market. But the one thing that contributes to that is their branding as well, right? And as I told you that it helps you to present yourself as an expert. So that's the ultimate thing. Like uh, if you are an authority in something, if you are an expert in something, so no one will ask you for a particular years of experience or something like that. And the third line is the ultimate result of the first two things. So if you are expert in your work, no one will care for number of years of experience, because they know that this person can get the things done, and that's what they need. So how, what's the method of doing that, or maybe something like that? So there's no shortcut for that. You might have seen that every brand or every company, they make continuous efforts to not only market their things, but also they keep on marketing their things even if their product is a blockbuster one, or maybe it has captured all of the market from opponents, or maybe you can say competitors, but they still keep on doing their marketing things to uh, continue with their brand persona that they established in the beginning. So like there is no shortcut to this thing. You have to make continuous efforts to not only build your brand, but then continue with it as well. So first of all, normally this talk is more focused on someone who's just starting out as a software engineer, or maybe like if you are just starting and exploring how to build your personal brand, like maybe you might be working in a particular domain for 5 to 6 years, and you uh, probably didn't work on your online presence or something like that. So like it's equally beneficial for you as well. So the thing is that if you want to be expert in a particular field, so people don't like generalists. Like if you say that, if you market yourself as a React Native developer, as a React.js developer, as an Angular developer, as a Vue developer, as a JavaScript developer, and you say that I know every framework out of this, or maybe I know every language, like maybe JavaScript, Python, Java, so no one will believe you actually, because uh, as a human being, there are very less people that are actually competent in every area. Like they are called genius, right? And everyone is not a genius. So you need to choose a particular area of interest, or maybe area which you will use to leverage your personal brand, or maybe establish your presence as an expert online. So the first step is to choose a particular niche for yourself, or maybe a particular area, or a particular technology or framework that you are maybe on which you are working, or maybe in which you are planning to make your career, or maybe you are an like aspiring data scientist and you want to build a career in data science. So like you can choose your area as a data scientist, right? So as a data scientist, so there are a lot of roles in the software development. If you uh, say about technical side of things, so there are roles for software engineer. If you go in the web domain, there are roles for front end and then back end. uh, there, if you want to build mobile applications and you are interested in that, then there are roles for like React Native developers or Flutter developers, or maybe Ionic developers, or maybe uh, in the olden times there were PhoneGap and Cordova developers, and there are also iOS and Android native developers as well. So these are the areas and the roles that we have in the software development domain, and you need different uh, types of technical expertise for each particular role. So like the role of a cloud developer, these people actually work on the cloud platforms, like maybe it's a cloud service like GCP, Azure, AWS or something like that, maybe DigitalOcean. So they know about the stuff that's happening on cloud and how to deploy things and how to architect like uh, make a complete infrastructure from scratch or something like that. So, and then there are also roles for the data scientists, machine learning engineers, uh, natural language processing engineers, you can say. And then like uh, these are all of the, like you can say, more technical roles that need specific skills in a certain you can say like these are the roles that need hard skills for like if you want to be a React.js developer or a React Native developer, you may need expertise in React.js framework or React Native framework. If you want to be a front-end developer, then you might need expertise in any of the top 3 JavaScript frameworks like Angular, Vue.js, or React.js and JavaScript. So, like every particular role requires certain types of hard skills that you actually need to master, or maybe that you in which you need to present yourself as an expert, right? And then alongside that, there are also a lot of rules related to that are actually non-technical in nature. So, like the product management role, project management role, then there are roles for the developer relations and advocacy. There are roles for the customer relations. So, like these are the roles that actually, in these roles, your communication skills, your presentation skills, your personal development skills, maybe you can say, and maybe your knowledge of product overall functionality, features, or maybe your knowledge of project management, like different tools, like you can say Kanban or maybe Jira or something like that, that people use for managing projects. So these roles are like you can say that less technical in nature and more uh, inclined towards non-technicality, you can say. So uh, what was the purpose of presenting all of these roles in front of you? So the purpose was that like you need to choose a particular domain for yourself, or a particular area in which you want to work, or maybe in which you are aspiring to do or start a professional career. So uh, what you can do is that you can start uh, uh, with the choosing a particular field, you can say like maybe front-end development or something like that, and then you can uh, list down all of the skills for yourself, like these are the skills that I need to work on, and these are the skills which I'll be using for my online that I'll be using to build my online presence, like sharing things related to that or something like that. We'll be discussing this. The second thing is that you need to contribute to the open source. So usually when we talk to the people here, so they don't understand and they don't get the idea of the open source, and like they say that what we'll be getting by contributing to a totally free thing, or maybe the thing for which I'm not getting paid for, or something like that. So the point is that uh, there are a lot of advantages of contributions in the open source. Like if you start contributing to the open source, you get a lot of advantages. Usually what university grades, or maybe you can say a fresh software engineer lacks, is that he doesn't have any experience of real world projects or something like that. He doesn't have any experience of large code bases. So when you start exploring open source code bases, there are a lot of online software that are actually built on the top of open source software. So if you start contributing to the open source, what you can do is that you'll ultimately, if you need to make a feature for that, or maybe contribute something, you will be exploring that code base, and that will also help you gain the real world experience, you can say, which most companies ask for, like maybe uh, 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 even if you pass the interview, so there is a requirement that you don't have any real world exposure or maybe real world experience. You are good at your particular area, but you don't have real world experience, so we can't offer you a job, or maybe something like that. So that's the main problem. So you can fill up that space by your open source contributions. So the open source contributions can help you gaining the real world experience, you can say, or maybe actually gaining the experience of maybe even working on a production ready thing, because there are a lot of like unlimited open source projects that are actually being used by hundreds of thousands of people worldwide. And if you build a feature for that, like it's being used by thousands of people online, uh, you can say in production, then ultimately it will have a good impact on your CV and overall persona, you can say. And then there are a lot of platforms online, you can say. So if you are like a general web developer, maybe you can say a front-end developer or back-end developer, there is an event Hacktoberfest which occurs in every October. So like it concluded just last month. What you can do is that you can actually contribute to the maybe one open source project or maybe many of them. Like you just need to contribute uh, to the open source by 4 meaningful pull requests, and then they'll be sending you a t-shirt as a reward. Or this year they also offered you to uh, like gave you an option to plant a tree somewhere in the world. So like these are the two things. And then like they'll you can also share it in your network, or maybe show it to your network that you did 4 PRs in the open source. So it's a great thing. And there's, if you are an aspiring data scientist or machine learning engineer, then there's an online platform called Kaggle. There are hundreds of open source data sets there. There are hundreds of companies that are actually releasing their data sets for the data scientists and machine learning engineers to actually work on those data sets and actually get insights out of that data sets, or maybe make some predictions. And when you are actually competing on a world level with, like you can say, there are a lot of genius people out there who are actually competing, so you will you will ultimately get a good experience from that as well. And then you can also show it on your uh, CV as well. So Kaggle is like a GitHub, as GitHub is for software engineers, so Kaggle is for data scientists, machine learning engineers, or maybe you can say AI engineers. And then third thing is GitHub, which you like probably know about. So the third thing is that when you have done when you have started uh, in a particular domain and you have chosen a domain of your choice, and then you contribute it to some open source repository or something like that, after that the third thing comes is that you should write about your experience on the social media platforms. Like if you contributed to the Hacktoberfest, you can just go and write a blog about it. How was your experience? What did you learn? How difficult was it? How easy was it? What motivation did you gain from that particular experience to contribute more in the open source or something like that? And then you can also write, like there are a lot of websites where you can share your blogs. Like there's Dev, which is an open source platform for the developers. You can just go and write anything there related to development, software development, or maybe anything. And then there is another platform called Medium, which also pays you to actually write posts for the people or articles for the people, or maybe you can say share your thoughts. It's like as YouTube is for vloggers, you can say, or video makers, you can say. Same as the Medium is for writers. So when you write things, you get a lot of views, and then you ultimately get paid for that. And then there is a third platform that doesn't pay you, but actually it's very good for professional networking or leveraging the power of your network, or maybe building meaningful connections. That's LinkedIn. So what you can do is that when you did something meaningful, maybe studied something even, you can just go and write a post about that and share it in your network. So this way you can start establishing yourself as an authority. And as I told you that there is no shortcut for that, so you need to do it in step by step, and it takes time, but ultimately you will see the results. I have seen myself as well. So that's why I am asking. The fourth thing is that when you actually, like as we discussed, that you should contribute in the open source things. So if you do that, you'll also get like a lot of you can build a portfolio on the top of that. Like you can present that you like Free Code Camp is an open source website, its code is open source. So if you build a feature for the Free Code Camp, so it will be ultimately used by millions of people online, and then it will be a production ready thing ultimately if it gets merged. So you can also add it to your CV, and you can say that hey, I implemented this particular feature and contributed to this in the Free Code Camp website, and like you can do that. Another approach is that if you are not like not that much confident to do some meaningful pull requests to the open source projects, so what you can do is that you can build your own stuff online, like maybe a to-do app or something like that, or maybe some meaningful project. Maybe even you can build something that solves a real world problem, or maybe like I have seen a lot of people online that have one of the freelancers I saw, he built uh, an online where you can actually generate a payment document to send to your client. So you can write all the work that you did and price, and then you can sign it with your digital sign, and then send it to download it as a PDF and then send it to your client. So he did it as an open source thing, and it's open source. So like there are a lot of things that people build, and then they are if they solve a problem, a real world problem, a pain, you can say in the marketing language, then ultimately it is going to be used by not only hundreds but thousands of people online. And like if the exposure that you gain from that particular experience is invaluable, this is what real world like companies are looking for the people who have exposure of real world things, things used by thousands of people online, or maybe hundreds of people online, or they have an experience of running a real world product, or maybe experience of building a thing that is actually used by the people. So build such projects online and make them open source. There will be hundreds of people who will be using that, and ultimately you will build a portfolio on the top of that. So now comes the interesting thing. Let's call it interesting, but maybe it's boring for you. So anyways, so my story. I graduated with a degree in electronics from a university in Karachi. How did I become a software engineer, right? So uh, when I started my bachelor's in electronics from the University of Karachi, so I was unclear about the pathways or the career which I should choose. And then we had introduction to programming course in the first semester, as we do have in a lot of technical fields, you can say, if you are pursuing a bachelor's in that. So uh, uh, I've like studied the programming, and like I couldn't get it at all. And I thought that like it's a very difficult thing, and like it's impossible to become a software engineer, and I failed it. So when I failed it, so I thought that if it's so hard, so let's do that, right? So I started studying JavaScript, and then it was 2016, so React.js had its first version out, so I started learning React.js, and it had a lot of demand at that time in the market. It still has, but it was like a new framework, and it had changed, you can say, the word of front-end developer, the way of thinking, like the way in which front-end developers, or maybe you can say front-end architects, used to think. So it totally changed that thing. So there was a lot of demand, so I learned that. So and then like for the first 2 or 3 years of career, uh, like I was also struggling in a similar manner as a young graduate, you can say, or maybe a computer science graduate struggles maybe more than that you can say, because my background was not in the computer science. Okay, so I also had a disadvantage at that side as well. So what I learned is that when I started using, one of my colleagues in the previous company told me that he had an offer online from the LinkedIn, without even applying to any particular company. So I was amazed, and I thought that how it can be possible. Like, how can someone get an offer in their inbox? Like some companies offering them that come and get an come and give interview at our company and get that position. So like as we hear a lot that you need to apply for the job, and then HR processes your CV or something like that, and then they'll get back to you that whether you are selected for an interview or maybe uh, next steps or not. So this was the usual thing that we heard a lot from like our early days. But this was an unexpected thing for me. So I thought that like I should build a LinkedIn profile, because it's like really helpful that you are getting interview calls in your inbox. You don't need to directly apply or something like that. So this was the point at which like I got a motivation and I made a LinkedIn account, and then like there were so many online people that actually inspired me and motivated me. I saw their stuff online, and they were sharing content daily, and they were actually like leveraging the things based on the content that they shared, or maybe the things that they were actually presenting, or maybe the things that they were actually using to build their personal brand. So I also get inspired from them, and then like I also build myself as a personal brand. And still like uh, uh, I don't need to apply for jobs. Like I get job offers in my inbox. So this is what I had also like I can say I only spent around 3 to 4 months, you can say, building my online profile, like constantly posting stuff related to React.js. That was my particular niche in which I wanted to work, or maybe I was working. And I wrote some of the blogs on Medium and Dev, and then like it was the ultimate result that I was getting job offers in my inbox. And I was like even um, like at you can say that the amount of salary that a young graduates wouldn't even expect, I was getting that amount. So this is the power of personal branding, that you can negotiate on your own terms. You can get offers without applying online. You build meaningful connections with the people. Like after I have started using LinkedIn, or maybe started using articles, so there are a lot of people in the Pakistani communities, even in the international community, that know me, that he, like this guy Said, he writes a lot of blogs online. And recently one of my articles on the Azure also got featured on the Microsoft's website. So, and there are a lot of people in the like companies like Google, Microsoft, and that actually know me. So this is the power of personal branding. Like in the modern world, you don't need to limit yourself by the physical boundaries, like, right? You don't need to like uh, I'll say that you don't need to limit yourself to the spaces of your office, to the spaces of uh, to a particular area, to a particular country. You shouldn't do that ultimately, because if you are doing that, you are like losing a lot of things, and you are not leveraging a lot of things actually. So like you should, I'll say that for everyone who is actually, even someone if he's starting, or maybe if they are a person who is actually working in the industry for 5 to 6 years, so you need to build your personal brand. You need to build your online reputation as a person who is actually experienced in that particular technology, so that you can also leverage the power of your learning, the power of your knowledge that you have actually got by investing a lot of years in the educational institutions, you can say, or maybe in the industry, or maybe anywhere. But you should do that. So I think uh, you can connect with me on the different like platforms on the Medium, on GitHub, on Instagram, and even on the email as well. And you can also see my personal website, saeed.js.org. So this was it. I hope you liked it. Anyways, if you do have any questions, you can ask me, and I'd be happy to answer your question, or maybe something if you have for me.
Hi Saeed, I have a question.
Yes.
Whatever you have said, it is very good to understand, easy to understand, but there is a practical implication that we software engineers, most of us are actually introverts, right? You would agree to that. And
Yes,
it is
exactly.
really hard to drag us out of our couches, you know. We do not go public, we do not talk a lot, we love our screen, and we try to stick to that. So give us some tips, I mean, how we can really start getting to the public, you know what I mean? Apart from whatever you have explained already, just give us some tips or shortcuts, I mean, how we can start doing it, or in which way we can start doing it, you know.
Yes, actually, so personally, I'm also like I used to be a very shy person. Like I'm not anymore, but I used to be a very shy person. So I wouldn't like, uh, I don't have that much friends as well. So like I'm also you can say introvert. So, so the tip is that you should start slowly and gradually. Like if you are hesitant in speaking online, so don't start with that. Start with, like, if you are a React.js developer, just go to the online React.js website, or maybe uh, explore some of the blogs online that have some good tips, and just copy and paste those things, or maybe just read that blog, and then whatever you concluded from that blog, uh, write it in a summary form, check it with Grammarly extension that it shouldn't have any mistakes, and then just post it online, like on the LinkedIn, and like start with the smaller things that are easier for you, and then like build up things on the top of that. Like if you post consistently for a, like you can say, every 3 days online on the LinkedIn, or maybe on any platform like Twitter, so you will be actually getting to the habit of engaging with the people, interacting with the people online. So like slowly and gradually you will actually have the courage to come out of your comfort zone, or maybe what we can say couches. So this is how you do, like you do everything like slowly and gradually, because when I started, so I didn't start online uh, speaking on the public forums. So like as I told you that I was really a shy person, so I started by writing blogs online. I was good at writing, so I thought that it would be nice to write some blogs. So I started with that, and now I'm speaking in the front of you. So this is how you can do, like start with the gradual things that are easier for you, and then like engage with the community, go to the community events, and then if you see a lot of like you'll see a lot of young people doing that, so you'll ultimately like get some courage, or maybe some motivation, or something like that.
Hello, hello, hello.
हाँ जी,
Hello,
हमें
can
आवाज
you
आ
hear
रही है
me?
आपकी, बोलें. Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah. First of all, say that was a really nice presentation. I really appreciate that.
Thank you so
Secondly,
much.
you're welcome.
Background
Second,
noise बहुत ज्यादा है. Probably
अब ठीक है.
fan or something.
अरे ये लैपटॉप का फैन है एक्चुअली ना. अच्छा, अभी क्वेश्चन ये था बेसिकली कि यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट मेकिंग द ब्रांड एंड दिस थिंग ब्रांड और इसके बारे में आप कह रहे थे. I agree with that. I agree with that. लेकिन don't you think, especially for those जो fresh graduate हैं या जो start अभी कर रहे हैं, जिनको मतलब इतना experience नहीं है, maybe 5 months experience है या इस तरह experience है, तो वो अभी ज़्यादा ज़्यादा focus वो करें hard hard code skills gain करने की तरफ. Like they should invest most of their time to learn the skills, और जो important चीज़ें हैं वो learn करें, बजाय से कि वो अभी ब्रांड की तरफ जाएं या उस तरफ जाएं, ताकि उनकी अटेंशन और वो ज़्यादा डेविएट ना हो, उनकी जो फोकस है वो डेविएट ना हो, और वंस दे गेट द स्किल्स आफ्टर लाइक 1-2 years में भी, आफ्टर 2 years 2.5 years, उसके बाद अगर वो इस तरफ आते हैं, क्योंकि एज यू ऑल्सो नो एक्शन स्पीक्स लाउडर देन वर्ड्स, और अगर उनके पास 2 years 2.5 years का एक्सपीरियंस होगा, तो अगर वो उसके बाद अगर वो इस तरफ आते हैं, तो डोंट यू थिंक इट विल बी अ बेटर ऑप्शन फॉर देम? लिंक्डइन की हद तक तो आई एग्री कि लिंक्डइन मतलब लिंक्डइन वो चीज़ है कि आपको इट विल हेल्प यू गेट जॉब्स एंड कनेक्शन वगैरह, लेकिन मतलब ज़्यादा ज़्यादा उस तरफ अगर ना जाए इन द स्टार्ट, तो व्हाट्स योर व्यू ऑन दैट?
Uh, Actually, I have my personal story. So whatever I derive the things, or maybe you can say the facts. So it's all from my personal story. So based on my personal experience, I can say that both things are necessary. So you also need to work on your hard skills, like maybe data structures and algorithms, system design, object-oriented programming. These are the concepts that are really necessary for a software engineer to excel in his field. And like no one denies that, and everyone knows that. So if someone is like not working on that knowingly, then I think like we cannot force someone to actually work on that. And if someone realizes it, so they might be already doing like working on that. And also I think that there are a lot of people like they do study those things in the university. Like if you talk about data structures and algorithms, if you talk about system design, if you talk about databases, they actually study those topics in their university. But what they don't study is that they don't study how to make your CV. Like even what I learned in my university was that I should write my NIC number at the top of my CV. I should write my address at the top of my CV. I should write like my whole biodata that has nothing to do with the company that I'm applying to. So these are the things. Like there are a lot of things that are actually not true that we are teaching in the universities. And so this is why I think that personal branding is really necessary. And yes, you should work on the data structures and algorithms. It's all about actually managing their time. So I've personally seen that a lot of young graduates, they waste their time in the university, like hanging out with friends or maybe dating and other stuff. So instead of doing that, if we work on the data structures and algorithms as well, like on our hard skills as well, and if we get some time, so we should work on our personal branding. That will help us more compared to the other things that we do in the university. So that's the point actually. But I think that it's 50-50. So if you are like, let's just take the example of this particular software that we are using for video calling. So if the developer of this particular software had built it in silos and kept it to his computer, so no one would know about this software, right? But he actually built it and then marketed it and then put it online so we can use it. And we know that there exists a thing that's called GoToMeeting. So the same is with skills of a person. So if I know data structures and algorithms and no one knows that this particular guy, Saeed Ahmed, this knows this much amount of data structures and algorithms, he is that much good at system design, so no one can actually hire me. So for personal marketing, I have to do that. So I think it's 50-50. You need to work on your hard skills as well, and you also need to work on your soft skills as well. Yes. If you
anybody
have,
else have a question?
सईद भाई अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
yes. वालेकुम सलाम।
सर भी अजीम बात कर रहा हूँ। सर भी हार्ड स्किल्स और सॉफ्ट स्किल्स में थोड़ा आप बता सकेंगे कि किस तरह मैं समझा नहीं इस बारे में।
देखें, हार्ड स्किल्स ये होती हैं, जैसे आप जो ना एक वो है कारपेंटर है, ठीक है। अब एक कारपेंटर का उसका काम क्या है कि कुर्सी बनाना उसका काम है, ठीक है। तो जो जितनी महारत उसको जो कुर्सी के बनाने में या उस लकड़ी को काटने में या लकड़ी को छीलने में है, तो वो जो महारतें हैं ना उसकी, वो हार्ड स्किल्स कहलाती हैं, ठीक है। फिर किसी कस्टमर के साथ बात करना, कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स, कस्टमर को एक्चुअली फोर्स करना कि वो उसी से प्रोडक्ट खरीदे और उससे इतनी महंगी खरीदे। जैसे आप देखेंगे कि एक आपके मोहल्ले में भी एक कारपेंटर होता है, सही है, वो भी कुर्सी बना के बेच रहा होता है, और एक कोई ब्रांड है वो भी बना के बेच रहा होता है, सही है। तो वो ब्रांड वाली जो वो महंगी बिकती है और जो मोहल्ले में जो कारपेंटर होता है उसकी सस्ती बिकती है। तो वो क्या है कि वो सॉफ्ट स्किल्स का थोड़ा सा वो है कि वो जो जो कंपनी है उसका एक पर्सोना है, फिर उसका जो ना एक उन्होंने मतलब कम्युनिकेट करने के लिए क्लाइंट्स के साथ बंदे रखे हुए हैं, और भी काफ़ी चीज़ें, मगर ये एक आसान मिसाल है कि जिससे आप समझ सकते हो कि सॉफ्ट स्किल्स और हार्ड स्किल्स में डिफरेंस क्या है। तो सॉफ्टवेयर इंजीनियर्स के लिए ये है कि जैसे हमारी जो जॉब से रिलेटेड चीज़ें, जो जैसे मैं मोबाइल एप्लीकेशन डेवलपमेंट कर रहा हूँ, उसमें मुझे एक्चुअली कोई फ्रेमवर्क यूज़ कर रहा हूँ रिएक्ट नेटिव, तो उसकी जो लैंग्वेज मतलब जो उसकी नॉलेज है, उसके अलावा डेटा स्ट्रक्चर्स की, सिस्टम डिज़ाइन की, आर्किटेक्चर की, इन चीज़ों की जो नॉलेज है सारी, या किसी लैंग्वेज की नॉलेज जैसे पाइथन है, जावास्क्रिप्ट है, तो ये सारी जो नॉलेजेस है मेरी, ये कहलाएंगी हार्ड स्किल्स। और उसके अलावा मैं जो अभी आपसे बात कर रहा हूँ, कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स, प्रेजेंटेशन स्किल्स, मेरी एचआर से इंटरेक्ट करने की स्किल्स, बॉस से इंटरेक्ट करने की स्किल्स, तो ये सारी जो स्किल्स हैं ये मेरी सॉफ्ट स्किल्स कहलाती हैं। तो ये चीज़, ये डिफरेंस है।
ओके, थैंक यू।
थैंक यू टू। Yes, anyone else?
Does anyone have any question?
इसमें ना मैं एक और बात भी कहना चाहता हूँ कि हम लोग जो हमारे माशरे का एक जनरल मसला ये है कि हम लोग सवाल नहीं पूछते। तो सवाल पूछना चाहिए, मतलब किसी से भी ना, हम सवाल पूछने में एक तो मतलब वो असर ही ऐसा है कि हमें सवाल पूछने से रोक दिया गया है कि सवाल नहीं पूछा करो, सही है। हालांकि सवाल पूछने को इनकरेज करना चाहिए, और इससे एक सेहतमंद माशरा जो ना वो तश्कील में आता है। तो सवाल पूछा करें, मतलब कोई भी अगर प्रेजेंट कर रहा है या कोई भी बंदा आपसे बात कर रहा है तो उससे सवाल पूछें, उससे मतलब चीज़ें पूछें कि वो कहना क्या चाह रहा है आपको, तो उससे ना काफ़ी चीज़ें आपको क्लियर होती हैं। और अगर सवाल भले न भी पूछना हो फिर भी डिस्कशन करें, उससे भी आपको काफ़ी चीज़ें क्लियर होती हैं। तो सवाल पूछा करें, इससे बहुत फ़ायदा होता है।
जी सही
शहीद भाई,
जी जी
सर एक क्वेश्चन।
ओके, एमजी आस्क।
जी जी
मिर्जा साहब आप पूछ
सर एक
लीजिए।
क्वेश्चन है कि ये जो सॉफ्ट स्किल्स हैं ये सीखें कहाँ से, क्योंकि यूनिवर्सिटी में तो कुछ सिखाता नहीं है इस की चीजें।
आप देखें सॉफ्ट
लाइक
स्किल्स तो आप हम्म, हम्म, जी जी
कैसे फ्रेंड से बात करनी है, कैसे टीचर से कैसे बात करनी है, बॉस से कैसे बात करनी है, अपने कोलीग से कैसे बात करनी है, ये चीजें ये तो नहीं सिखाई जाती ना यूनिवर्सिटीज में। तो ये मतलब सीखें कहाँ से, मेन प्रॉब्लम ये आता है
हाँ। देखें इसमें एक तो मतलब काफ़ी बुक्स हैं ना, और ऑनलाइन भी पर्सनल डेवलपमेंट पे बुक्स हैं, कम्युनिकेशन स्किल्स पे टिप्स अगर आप देखेंगे तो काफ़ी आपको मिल जाएंगी। तो आप ना अपना पर्टिकुलर आप अपनी वीकनेसेस उनको आउटलाइन करें, कि जैसे आपको अगर किसी से कम्युनिकेट करने में प्रॉब्लम होती है, मतलब आपके मुंह से मतलब अल्फाज के निकलने में कुछ मसला होता है, या फिर ख्यालात के आने में कुछ मसला होता है, क्योंकि इंसान जब किसी से बात करता है तो उसके मुख्तलिफ मराहिल होते हैं जिसमें वो किसी से बात कर रहा होता है। जैसे अक्सर ये होता है, मेरे साथ ये होता था पहले कि मैं जब ऑनलाइन किसी से बात करता था तो मैं चीज़ें भूल जाता था, मुझे मतलब याद नहीं रहती थी कि मुझे बोलना क्या है, तो मैं कंफ्यूज हो जाता था, मैं वहीं पे स्टक हो जाता था। तो ये चीज़ ऐसी है कि अब इसमें ना आप जितना प्रैक्टिस करेंगे, एक तो प्रैक्टिस वाली चीज़ है, फिर उसके अलावा ये कि आप एक तो प्रैक्टिस ये कि आईने के सामने आप प्रैक्टिस करो, सही है, या कोई आपके पीसी में कोई ऐप होगी कैमरा की यूजुअली, उसमें वीडियोस खुद रिकॉर्ड करें घर पे, उसको सुने दोबारा से, फिर उस पर काम करें, फिर बेहतर करें। तो इस तरह से आइटरेटिवली, मतलब ये ऐसी चीज़ नहीं कि आप ओवर नाइट कर लोगे, ये आहिस्ता आहिस्ता करो। और मतलब इसमें ज़्यादा टेंशन लेने वाली बात भी नहीं है कि अगर आपके मुंह से अगर कोई लफ्ज़ अगर स्पेलिंग मतलब कोई लफ्ज़ मिस प्रोनाउंस हो गया तो उसमें कोई इशू नहीं है, सही है। तो इस तरह से मतलब आहिस्ता आहिस्ता आप करें और अपनी वीकनेसेस को आइडेंटिफाई, जैसे हम लोग हार्ड स्किल्स में करते हैं ना कि यार मुझे पाइथन नहीं आती तो मुझे पाइथन सीखनी है, फिर उसके लिए मैं एक टाइम टेबल बनाता हूँ कि यार इतने दिनों में मैं पाइथन कोर लैंग्वेज सीख लूंगा, इतने दिनों में फ्लास्क सीखूंगा, इतने दिनों में जेंगो सीखूंगा, ये वाला ट्यूटोरियल मुझे देखना है, ये वाला अच्छा है, ये बुरा है, सही है। तो इस तरीके से ना, तो इसी तरीके से जो सॉफ्ट स्किल्स हैं ये भी इसी तरीके से आप कोई अगर पर्सनल डेवलपमेंट पे तो बुक्स पढ़ें, अगर कम्युनिकेशन में प्रॉब्लम है तो वीडियोस कुछ देखें, उसके अलावा जैसे मैंने बताया रिकॉर्ड करके चीज़ें करें। तो प्रैक्टिस जितना करते जाएंगे उस तरह से चीज़ें बेहतर होती जाएंगी। और कोई सवाल अगर पूछें तो?
एक और था जी बिल्कुल।
जी जी।
जी एक क्वेश्चन ये था बेसिकली कि करंटली हम देखते हैं कि मोस्टली जो है स्टार्ट में आप जब करियर स्टार्ट करते हो तो यू लुक कि आप जॉब की तरफ जाओ या फिर आप फ्रीलांसिंग साइट पे करो ना, तो आपका एक्सपीरियंस क्या रहा ज़्यादा, लाइक यू स्टार्टेड इन सम कंपनी इन सम जॉब या यू स्टार्टेड एज अ फ्रीलांसर? व्हाट वाज योर एक्सपीरियंस? इफ यू कैन प्लीज शेड लाइट ऑन दिस, थैंक यू।
ओके, थैंक यू एज वेल। सो मैंने जब स्टार्ट किया था तो आई स्टार्टेड लाइक फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल आई गॉट अ जॉब, सो आई वाज वर्किंग इन द कंपनी एंड देन अलोंगसाइड दैट आई आल्सो ट्राइड सम फ्रीलांसिंग एज वेल। सो मुझे पर्सनली फ्रीलांसिंग मुझे इतनी पसंद नहीं आई, क्योंकि उसमें ये कि आप एक तो ये मसला है कि रेट्स बहुत कम है, ठीक है। तो उसके अलावा ये कि बाकी ये कि डिपेंड करता है कि जब आप जैसे मतलब रेट चार्ज करना वो भी आप पे खुद डिपेंड करता है। जैसे आप अगर अपवर्क फाइवर पे काम कर रहे हैं तो वहां पे चूंकि कंपटीशन ज्यादा है तो जाहिर है आपको रेट्स नहीं मिलेंगे, वो तो पता है सबको। तो इसके अलावा ये कि आप पर्सनल जो मैंने अभी बात की कि पर्सनल ब्रांडिंग अपनी इंप्रूव करें, तो आप डायरेक्ट जो ना लिंक्डइन से क्लाइंट्स आप लैंड करें, आप ट्विटर से लैंड करें, तो जो डायरेक्ट क्लाइंट्स होंगे वो आपके मुताबिक आपको पे करेंगे। तो वो डिपेंड करता है कि आपका अल्टीमेट गोल क्या है। अगर किसी ने फ्रीलांसर बनना है तो भी पर्सनल ब्रांडिंग उसके लिए भी ज़रूरी है, वो साथ में अपना फाइवर अपवर्क पे काम करता रहे, और जो है ना फिर वो जब अपना मतलब पर्सनल ब्रांडिंग उसकी एक लेवल तक पहुंच जाए तो उसको खुद रिजल्ट्स आना शुरू हो जाएंगे, उसके इंडस्ट्री में लोगों से बात बनेगी, मतलब उसको जॉब ऑफर्स इतनी अच्छी आना शुरू हो जाएंगी कि शायद मेरे ख्याल से फ्रीलांसिंग की ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ेगी। और बाकी ये कि अगर वो फ्रीलांसिंग भी करता है तो मतलब काफ़ी अच्छा होगा, क्योंकि कनेक्शन ज़्यादा होंगे, रेट हायर मिलेंगे, तो फिर जाहिर है फ्रीलांसिंग भी अच्छी होगी। तो पर्सनल ब्रांडिंग अल्टीमेटली आपको हर सूरत में करनी है।
बच्चे ये कैसे लर्न करें?
बच्चे किसको, मतलब सॉफ्टवेयर को, प्रोग्रामिंग वगैरह को?
आई थिंक
सोशल
इसी हवाले से
ब्रांडिंग
क्वेश्चन
कैसे
है।
लर्न करें?
एक्चुअली देखें, अगर बच्चों की बात करें तो उसमें तो ये है कि जो स्कूल्स हैं या फिर कॉलेजेस हैं या फिर अगर यूनिवर्सिटी के बच्चों को भी बच्चा मान लिया जाए, तो जो वो होते नहीं है, मगर ये कि अगर उनको भी बच्चा मान लिया जाए तो ये उन इंस्टीट्यूशंस का काम है और उन इंस्टीट्यूट्स का काम है कि वो उनको बताएं कि पर्सनल ब्रांडिंग क्या है। अब हम जो उसके लिए होना ये चाहिए कि कोर्सेज होने चाहिए डिफरेंट। अगर सीवी बनाना सिखा रहे हैं तो सीवी कम से कम सही बनाना सिखाएं, गलत सीवी ना बनाना सिखाएं, ठीक है। तो हमारे यहाँ अलमिया ये है कि हम जो चीज़ है वो सिखा तो रहे हैं मगर वो भी गलत सिखा रहे हैं। और उसके अलावा अगर कुछ नहीं सिखा रहे तो फिर ये कि उसको सिखाएं, और जो सिखा रहे हैं कम से कम उसको ठीक सिखाएं। तो ये तो उनका मतलब उनकी जिम्मेदारी बनती है, जो इंस्टीट्यूट्स हैं या जो इदारे हैं, तो उनके बारे में तो हम कुछ कह नहीं सकते। जो अपनी पर्सनल हमारी उसमें है अपनी, मतलब हम उसमें काम कर रहे हैं, तो अब देखें इसका क्या होता है।
Does anyone else have question?
अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
वालेकुम सलाम।
मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है। मैंने अपना काम स्टार्ट किया है, ठीक है, बट ठीक है, आपने जो चीज़ें पॉइंट्स बताए हैं कि आप रोल डिसाइड कर लें, आप अपनी प्रोफाइल बना लें, इस तरह जो आपने पॉइंट्स दिए, मैंने अपने ऑन पे वो सारा कुछ कर लिया है, ठीक है। बट एट सम पॉइंट अगर मैं देखूं तो मुझे जो ऑडियंस रिस्पॉन्स है वो बहुत स्लो है, और एट सम पॉइंट आपका मोराल भी जो है वो डाउन हो जाता है। तो इसके लिए क्या करना चाहिए? लाइक आई नो, मुझे समहाउ लगता है कि शायद ग्राफिक्स के अकॉर्डिंग जो है वो ब्रांडिंग का पॉइंट जो है वो मेरा स्लो है। लाइक ग्राफिक्स नहीं शायद अच्छे, इस वजह से कुछ इश्यूज आ रहा है। और एक मुझे और चीज़ पूछनी थी कि आपने एक पॉइंट कहा था कि इमोशनली कनेक्ट करें अपनी ऑडियंस से, राइट? सो इसको ज़रा थोड़ा सा इलैबोरेट करें कि how, how we can get emotionally connect with our audience.
हाँ, एक्चुअली देखें, अगर बच्चों की बात करें तो उसमें तो ये है कि जो स्कूल्स हैं या फिर कॉलेजेस हैं या फिर अगर यूनिवर्सिटी के बच्चों को भी बच्चा मान लिया जाए, तो जो वो होते नहीं है, मगर ये कि सही है, ठीक है। तो एक्चुअली आपके सवाल के दो पार्ट हैं। तो पहला पार्ट तो ये कि वो देखें, जो अब अगर आप एक यूट्यूबर हैं तो उसके लिए तो ये है कि आपकी जो वीडियोस हैं मतलब उनकी एडिटिंग वगैरह अच्छी होनी चाहिए, क्योंकि जो ऑडियंस है वो विजुअल्स को ज़्यादा पसंद करती है। तो मतलब उसमें सेंस बनता है कि उसमें ग्राफिक्स या उस टाइप की जो चीज़ है ना वो डिपेंड करती है। या फिर अगर आप ग्राफिक डिज़ाइनर हैं तो फिर भी अगर आप कुछ काम कर रहे हैं तो ज़ाहिर है उसमें ग्राफिक्स वाला जो पार्ट है वो आपका वो ज़्यादा हाईलाइट होना चाहिए, मतलब वो ऐसा
बेसिकली जो मैं रन कर रही हूँ वो एक आईटी कंपनी ही है जो ट्रेनिंग्स और उसमें प्रोजेक्ट्स वगैरह हम कर रहे हैं। वी हैव अ टीम और सब कुछ है, बट ऑडियंस रिस्पांस की वजह से मुझे थोड़ा सा वो इशू है कि उसको कैसे इम्प्रूव करना चाहिए।
सही है। तो देखें, अब अगर आप ट्रेनिंग्स वगैरह प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं ना तो उसके लिए सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ जो मेरे ख्याल से वो ये कि मतलब आप जो परसोना है, अब देखें वो ट्रेनिंग्स किस टाइप की हैं। अगर वो फिर मार्केटिंग के तो काफ़ी एस्पेक्ट्स भी होते हैं, जैसे अगर आप कोई एडवर्टाइजमेंट बना रहे हैं किसी इवेंट की या फिर आपकी कोई ट्रेनिंग है तो कम से कम वो जो उसके जो ग्राफिक्स हैं या विजुअल्स हैं वो अच्छे होने चाहिए, ठीक है। वो तो पार्ट हो गया जो नेसेसरी है। उसके अलावा जो टेक्निकल लेवल पे चीज़ें मतलब वो फिर डिपेंड करता है कि आपके ट्रेनर्स कितने अच्छे हैं। फिर आप खुद भी, अगर आप खुद ही ट्रेनिंग प्रोवाइड करती हैं तो आपको चाहिए कि आप डिफरेंट इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंसेज होती हैं जिनमें जो आप अगर वहाँ पे प्रेजेंट करो या स्पीक करो तो उसमें इतना कोई मतलब क्राइटेरिया नहीं होता। वो ये चाहते हैं कि आप स्पीक करें, मतलब आपके पास कोई अगर एक्सपीरियंस है तो वो आपको अलाउ कर देते हैं कि आप आए हमारे प्लेटफॉर्म पे, आप स्पीक करें। तो आप उस तरीके से भी अपने ब्रांड को लेवरेज कर सकते हो कि आप अगर रिएक्ट जेस में आप ट्रेनिंग प्रोवाइड कर रहे हो तो आप ऑनलाइन रिएक्ट जेस की मतलब दुनिया भर में हज़ारों कॉन्फ्रेंसेज होती है। रिएक्ट यूरोप होती है, रिएक्ट स्वीडन, मतलब रिएक्ट कराची, सही है, पाकिस्तान में भी होती हैं, ओवरऑल दी वर्ल्ड। अभी कोविड की वजह से सारी ऑनलाइन हो रही हैं, वैसे ऑनलाइन भी डेडिकेटेड ऑनलाइन कॉन्फ्रेंसेज भी होती हैं जिनमें कोई इतना रिक्वायर्ड नहीं होता कि आप मतलब किसी बड़ी कंपनी में या इस तरह कुछ, वो बस आपसे छोटा सा एक इंट्रोडक्शन मांगते हैं और कुछ में इंटरव्यूज भी हो जाते हैं, कुछ में नहीं होते। तो ये कि वो आप वहाँ पे प्रेजेंट कर सकते हो। तो वो जो चीज़ें ना, उस टाइप की जो चीज़ें, तो वो ना फिर आपको अपना पर्सनल ब्रांड लेवरेज करने में हेल्प देंगी। या फिर आप मीडियम पे ऑनलाइन पब्लिकेशन हैं, जैसे फ्लटर एक टॉपिक है, एक फ्रेमवर्क है, उसकी अपनी पब्लिकेशन हैं, डेटा साइंस की अपनी पब्लिकेशन हैं, इसी तरह डिफरेंट पब्लिकेशंस ऑनलाइन हैं जिनमें आप चीज़ें लिख सकते हो। तो अगर आप कोई डेटा साइंस रिलेटेड ट्रेनिंग प्रोवाइड कर रहे हो तो आपको चाहिए कि आप डेटा साइंस की पब्लिकेशंस में आर्टिकल्स लिखें, कम्युनिटी के अंदर एंगेज हों। तो सबसे पहले तो जो कम्युनिटी के अंदर जो लोग होते हैं वो तो उस चीज़ से ऑलरेडी कनेक्टेड होते हैं, तो सबसे पहले आपने उनको पिच करना है। फिर उसके बाद एक आम बंदे को चीज़ समझ में आएगी, क्योंकि जब एक पर्टिकुलर फील्ड के जो एक्सपर्ट्स होते हैं वो उसको वैलिडेशन देते हैं तो उसके बाद जो चीज़ है वो फिर मतलब बाहर आ जाती है। जैसे अगर एक कार है तो उसकी सबसे पहले जो इंस्पेक्शन है वो कार का जो जानते हैं कार को वो लोग करते हैं, फिर उसके बाद वो कस्टमर के पास आती है, सही है। तो अगर वो कार को जो जांचने वाले उन्होंने फेल कर दी तो वो बाहर नहीं आएगी। तो इसी तरीके से जो आपने अगर कोई ट्रेनिंग देनी है तो आप उस एरिया के अंदर पर्टिकुलर उस नीच के अंदर अपनी मतलब अगर लिंक्डइन की पोस्ट्स करें उसके मुतालिक, ठीक है, इवेंट्स करवाएं उसके मुतालिक, ऑनलाइन जो इवेंट्स होते हैं या कम्युनिटी के अंदर जो लोग हैं जो जैसे अगर एड टेक है तो एड टेक के पाकिस्तान में काफ़ी स्टार्टअप्स हैं उनके साथ कनेक्ट करें। तो ये चीज़ें जो आप वो कर सकते हो। और दूसरा सवाल क्या था आपको, मैं भूल गया, सॉरी।
दूसरा मैंने यही पूछा था कि इमोशनली कनेक्ट का आपने बताया ना कि इमोशनली अपनी ऑडियंस के साथ कनेक्ट करें, तो वो किस तरह कर सकते हैं, उसको इस पॉइंट को काइंडली एलैबोरेट करते हैं आप थोड़ा सा।
तो देखें, इसमें ये होता है कि सबसे पहली जो इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ है वो है कंसिस्टेंसी। अगर आप कंसिस्टेंट रहेंगे ना तो मतलब अल्टीमेटली मैंने खुद भी नोट किया है कि मैं लिंक्डइन पे मैं कंसिस्टेंटली पोस्ट करता हूँ, भले 4 दिन के बाद पोस्ट करूँगा, 5 दिन के बाद, मगर एक कंसिस्टेंटली एक पोस्ट करता रहता हूँ। उसके अलावा जो आपकी टोन है ना वो टोन भी सेम रहनी चाहिए। जैसे अगर आप रिएक्ट जेस पे काम कर रहे हो तो ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि आपने एक पोस्ट रिएक्ट जेस पे की है, अगली आपने जो ना डेटा साइंस पे कर दी, फिर अगली जो ना एआई पे कर दी, फिर उसके बाद कोई जॉब पोस्ट डाल दी, फिर उसके बाद जो ना कोई मीम शेयर कर दिया। तो मतलब इस तरीके से नहीं होना चाहिए। एक कंसंट्रेटेड और एक फोकस्ड एफर्ट होनी चाहिए। जैसे आपने देखा होगा ना कि एक पत्थर पे अगर पानी का कतरा एक उसी जगह पे गिरता रहे तो उसमें वो मतलब छेद हो जाता है कुछ अरसे के बाद, ये जगह बन जाती है थोड़ी सी, ठीक है। तो इसी तरीके से आपने भी एक चीज यूज करनी है और उसी को लेवरेज करते हुए आपने फिर जो ना मतलब एक ही एफर्ट सेम टोन के साथ अगर आप कंसिस्टेंटली करोगे तो अल्टीमेटली जो आपकी जो टारगेटेड ऑडियंस है वो आपको रिस्पॉन्ड करेगी।
ओके, सो आपने मुझे कहा कि मीडियम पे जिस तरह है आप आर्टिकल्स वगैरह से आपके जो भी समरी वगैरह है, या आप जो मतलब जो मैं लेक्चर डिलीवर कर रही हूँ या ट्रेनिंग्स प्रोवाइड कर रही हूँ, अब ट्रेनिंग्स जो हैं वो डिफरेंट कोर्सेज पे हैं, लाइक उनका टॉपिक डिफरेंट है। मैं इस प्लेटफॉर्म पे तो ऑब्वियसली आई विल नॉट अलाउड टू से इन डिटेल, तो उसमें मैं ये पूछना चाह रही हूँ कि आपने कहा मीडियम पे जो है वो आपका सेम होना चाहिए, पॉइंट आपका थ्रू आउट एक ही पॉइंट होना चाहिए, बट मैं ये पूछना चाह रही हूँ कि मैं सेम तो नहीं रख सकती ना। डेफिनेटली अगर मैं फ्रीलांसिंग पे कर रही हूँ तो मैं फ्रीलांसिंग का 1 दिन करूंगी, 2 दिन करूंगी, नेक्स्ट अगर मैं सॉफ्टवेयर डेवलपमेंट का मेरा कोई कोर्स है तो मुझे फिर उस पे शिफ्ट करना पड़ेगा, तो मेरा जो कंटेंट है वो वेरी करता रहेगा थ्रू आउट,
नहीं, वो एक्चुअली डिपेंड करता है। देखें, अगर आप ट्रेनिंग्स प्रोवाइड करेंगे तो कहने का मकसद ये था कि वो फिर मतलब ट्रेनिंग्स के लिए कंसंट्रेटेड एफर्ट होनी चाहिए। अगर फ्रीलांसिंग कर रही है तो फ्रीलांसिंग के लिए कंसंट्रेटेड एफर्ट होनी चाहिए। सही है, तो फिर वो डिपेंड करता है ना नेचर पे। यहाँ पे तो हम पर्सनल ब्रांडिंग की बात कर रहे थे, तो जब भी मैंने ये कहा कि जो एक पर्टिकुलर फ्रेमवर्क है जिसमें आप काम करते हो, तो वो मगर जैसे एक कंपनी है तो उसकी भी एक नए मतलब कोई पर्सनल उसका कोई मोटिव होता है, कोई गोल्स होते हैं, वो जो गोल्स होते हैं ना वो सेम रहने चाहिए। तो कहने का मकसद ये
ओके ओके, थैंक यू सो मच,
ब्रांड
थैंक यू।
जी जी, यस, थैंक यू।
I think this is it. Thank you all for joining this session. Thank you, Said, for giving us your precious time and giving details about this. Branding yourself as a software engineer and all the tricks and techniques that you have gone through in your personal life and have been successful. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thank
Bye
you
all.
too, and thank you everyone. Bye.